Really?
Oh, well, little technical issue. What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday night. We are back for another stream. Hope you dig the intro. We have some updates to talk about. It seems like half of them revolve around the same team. But we will dive in. We'll talk about some injury updates, some players that might have been on our list for a while, some players that are new to our list for varying reasons. But hopefully we'll be able to find you some targets to go out and get this week or tonight, and hopefully it's somebody that makes a difference. Looking to get some chat going too, maybe get into some trade talks. It'll be a good time. So welcome back. We had a bunch of familiar faces the last couple streams. That's a beautiful thing to see. So let's get into it. Probably going to have to start in Cleveland.
Yeah, because there's a lot going on over there right now in Cleveland.
There's a lot going on in
Uh,
Cleveland. There's a lot going on that was in Cleveland.
yeah, we should start with him too. So OBJ clearing waivers, man. So where's he going? It seems like today the newest team that popped up that's speculated is Green Bay. Uh, I'm sure I I can believe that OBJ wants to go there. The part that I would probably have a more difficult time picturing is Green Bay actually pursuing him and trying to like make that happen. It just seems like a move that Green Bay doesn't do. But obviously, if he went there, like that would be great. That would be one of the best case scenarios for OBJ. I know that Devontae Adams is there, but I just wouldn't care. With Rodgers, I think that like both those guys will be just fine. Obviously, in the hypothetical situation, Devontae Adams would take a little bit of a step back, but if people were freaked out about that move, Devontae Adams, I would even try to maybe get in a trade if his price goes down a little bit. Like it wouldn't bother me at all. But obviously, we don't know. This is just speculation. It's just fun to bring it up. I know another team was the Saints, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because they were the only team that actually reached out to Cleveland before they released him and tried to work out a trade. So that seems like a spot that would make a lot of sense where he could go. Obviously, they need wide receivers, and they're still in contention. And then the Seahawks, and kind of the same thing there as we talk about with Rodgers. Russell Wilson's awesome, and OBJ would be fun in Seattle too. That would be a little bit more of a bummer, just because they have two really good weapons, as opposed to Green Bay. It's just Devontae Adams. So, as an OBJ, as someone who has OBJ on their team, Dub, if you could pick one, where do you want it to be?
I mean, if OBJ wants to be in Green Bay, I think that might be where I want him to be right now, just because it seems like the league revolves around what OBJ might want and want to see happen. I think that if he does go to Green Bay, I don't know that Adams takes a step back. I think he takes a step back in volume, maybe, but I mean, over the last couple of years, we've seen some like 12 to 18 target games for 150 yards, and I mean that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of crazy. I think maybe he's getting 150 yards on 10 to 12 targets. I think the efficiency would have to go up if they're using OBJ and he's effective. So I think the production stays the same, maybe even goes up a tick if they're drawing attention away from him. But I just think that the efficiency or the volume might go down, but the efficiency I think would go up quite a bit. So I'd be really interested if he went to Green Bay. The the list of teams that I was seeing, I mean, all the ones that you had mentioned, there were. What was interesting to me, I guess, is that he says he wants to go to Green Bay. Russell Wilson is rumored to be like really lobbying to get him out in Seattle, but there was a list of teams that was thrown out there today. KC, New England, and New Orleans were the teams that I saw that were listed in addition to Green Bay, and I found it interesting that Seattle wasn't listed. So it's like
Oh.
the initial rumors, the initial buzz I was hearing was like Russ really wants him out there. They did their research on him, and it seemed
Mm-hmm.
like there was a lot of momentum early. And then the last list I saw was like, well, we're going to talk about team. These are teams that allegedly Odell's team, like his agents and representatives, met with or talked to. So I don't know if there's validity to that list. Why haven't his guys met with Seattle yet? I mean, that
Right.
from the outside looking in, if I want to go to a winner, I'm probably not going to the third best team in that conference or in that division right now. Like, Arizona's had some issues recently, a lot of injuries, but like Arizona and the Rams have been 1 and 2, and really, I mean, the Niners have a ton of
Yeah.
talent, and they've just had a lot of adversity too. Like that division, if I'm trying to pick a team, which doesn't happen often for players, like I think that's the hardest division to come out of.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Green Bay would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, Lions ain't
They,
doing shit.
yeah, the Lions, Bears, and I mean, I guess you could maybe say Minnesota would have the best shot, but they don't really have a shot.
No.
Not with a healthy Aaron Rodgers on the field. They just that's the Packers division, unfortunately for us.
Yeah, like they will have that clinched in a week or two. Probably by
Right.
Thanksgiving they'll see a little asterisk next to their name in the standings.
Yeah. Um. hmm, That would really suck for us.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that aspect of it, but yeah. We'll just have to see. Obviously, I think it's gonna happen. Seems like this is probably gonna happen pretty quick, wherever he ends up going. I mean, he's obviously got his teams in mind, so it'll just be about if one of those teams and which of those teams can figure out. So the salary, that's an interesting thing about it. This is why Cleveland reworked it before they released him. They have to pay him. It's like 4 million and some change because he didn't get claimed, and I think that's it. I think now at this point, I think whatever he works out is what he works out. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's how that goes. So it'll just be like who's willing to. I just have a hard time to picture it being Green Bay, just from because of their organization, not because of OBJ's interest. If that was the case, and then the Seattle thing, I find that interesting too. That they didn't mention them on the latest report, and that division is tough. I don't know. If it seems like if I had to guess one right now, it'd be the Saints,
That'd be
and I
that'd
wouldn't
be
be
rough for me.
yeah, I wouldn't be as excited about it. I definitely not. But I'd still rather have that than freaking Cleveland. I
Yeah.
mean, it is still an upgrade.
I'd rather him be
Um,
there than New England too.
New England was, yeah, I believe so as well. I think so. It feels like that offense, like he would obviously be a great piece for them, but it seems like they would help them more from a football sense than for fantasy because like they wouldn't make him and every week we got to get him 14 targets. It would be more like we just need to win the game,
I
and that
think
would provide some consistency.
I think if you're looking at some teams like Kansas City and Seattle that have other options there, I think what he brings to the table would fit in Kansas City way more than Seattle. I was kind of thinking about it earlier today, and like you have Metcalf and you have Lockett, and we know what they do, and we know where they can excel. And Lockett excels in really short stuff and really deep stuff. And I think what would happen is OBJ would be outside. I think they would want Lockett in the slot, and like I'm okay with that overall, but it would kind of pigeonhole him to, in a sense, to I think like mid depth range, which I don't think really is OBJ's skill set either. I think the way I'm picturing it, which I could be wrong on, is like least interesting in Seattle. Because I think if he goes to these other places, like volume will be kind of massive, and I think he could be really flashy in Seattle and might have some big plays that he can break off here and there. But
Hmm.
and it's hard to say like that a good player going to a good offense would be a bad idea, but I mean everyone's got to eat. I even think in Kansas City he would find room to run between Kelsey and Hill, and they could all potentially get better if he was there. I just
Oh,
think
dude, he
he
would.
kind of seems like an odd man out or like a wrong fit, like a square peg in a round hole. I think they say in Seattle.
Sorry, animals. Uh, I think man, he could. It would be interesting if he went to Kansas City. I wonder if that would fix a lot of their problems that they're having because obviously we know the two that every defense is looking at and paying extra attention to. But this new thing that teams are doing against Kansas City, by the way, they're doing that same thing against Buffalo now, and you've seen Buffalo's struggles the last 2 weeks. Like there's something to this. what defenses are doing with these ultimate passing teams that like to spread the field and can't run the ball. But maybe another weapon like OBJ would really just change a lot for that team. I would love to see that for selfish reasons.
Oh, it would be
Oh,
crazy.
it would be. So yeah, I mean it's fun. It's crazy that a profile like this is just a free agent in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
It does not happen like that very often.
Something that needs to be mentioned too, because I think that teams can make it work maybe for the rest of this season, like a half a season to get a great player. I get that, right? And nobody's going to be on the hook beyond the rest of this year. So like, I'm not saying it affects where he lands, and I don't think he causes any major issues before the end of the season, but like Cleveland at the time he went to Cleveland was the best landing spot for Odell. Like Jarvis Landry was there too, and he was like his college mentor in the receiving core, and that was like a big factor on why we thought Odell would be all right, because like he was already a head case in New York, like that label was already on him. So like just kind of I was kind of thinking back to the last time he changed teams, and it was like, okay, well, the move to Cleveland is going to be great for him because there's opportunity, because it's a team that needs him, and because Jarvis can kind of rein him in, and that didn't happen. So I don't think Odell gets any more manageable, and I find it really intriguing that he wants to go to teams that tend to offer more structure. So I don't know, man. You can fake it till you make it, I guess, for 8 weeks, but his future is weird. He's got to go through like some maturation change or something before like I'm done worrying about these issues. I think it could get worse at some point, but probably not until next year.
Yeah, I think uh, I think it's totally warranted to have real concerns, and I guarantee you, a lot of those teams that probably considered putting a claim in for him, or you're even thinking about trying to maybe engage in conversations with him, like they've watched his film, they've made their opinions of where he's at as a player right now, but then the other part of that is, okay, do we want to actually bring him in?
Yeah.
Because of all the potential baggage that could come with it. I think that guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, I think maybe it's a non-issue for guys like that, like the premier experienced vets, really really good quarterbacks in the league, that basically have total command of their team. I think that an OBJ, it could be something like an AB with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, where he's just totally off the rails, and then he goes to someone like Tom Brady, and then just like straight and narrow now, or at least as far as we know.
Yeah.
And I think that could benefit OBJ. He wouldn't have that in in New Orleans. He wouldn't have that. He'd have Sean Payton, which might be one and the same maybe. And I'm sure a lot of his motivation for being interested in the Saints is Sean Payton. So
And
maybe there's a
Louisiana.
that right, that's true too. There's probably like a lot of respect there, but that respect can sour if you're not getting the ball, then if you're not winning. I mean, to OBJ, it seems like that would be the case, right?
Yeah.
But if he's got a quarterback like a Rodgers, a Russell Wilson, or a Mahomes, I don't know. I wouldn't worry as much about it then.
The fact that he wants to go to a winner and Kansas City's mentioned is kind of a joke right now. Like I think Kansas City's good, but they've got some like Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah. Right now they're not good.
No.
Right now they're average.
Yeah. You're gonna go shoot your shot on a team that looks like that out there on the field?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a betting man, you'd probably, gun to your head, you'd have to bet that the Chiefs could turn it around, but they've already got what, 3 or 4 losses. I mean, we are getting close to the point where we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
I mean, they've won back-to-back games, but they didn't play good teams, and the wins weren't pretty, but they were wins, so I guess they're on the right path. uh, you just still don't have a lot of confidence in them with the way they look right now. but maybe he can change that, and I'm sure he thinks that about himself. So
They are
interesting.
5-4.
5-4. That's crazy, man.
What up, Justin?
What's up, Justin? Appreciate you
Um,
coming out, man.
with OBJ being gone, I mean, we talked about when he got hurt who might step up, and we were talking about DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and we were talking about Rashad Higgins, and like neither of those guys really stepped up when he got hurt. But we have
Mhm.
2 straight weeks now of DPJ looking pretty good and putting up pretty good numbers. And when Baker hit him on that one touchdown this week, he looked pretty pumped up. I think it was personal, a little Odell smite there. But DPJ's starting to look like what he could, what we might have been picturing when Odell first got hurt. So that dude's only owned in 5.4% of leagues right now. And that's somebody that's definitely worth rostering in case this continues. For whatever reason, Mayfield and Peoples Jones have had a lot of chemistry on the deep ball. Like he is, I mean, you don't see it very like with other players as much, I don't think. But for whatever reason, like Baker hits Peoples Jones in that catching pocket all the time. Like when he takes those deep looks, it's right there. So take it for what it's worth. I think there's some chemistry there. If they start messing with that a little more, that could be end up being a rest of season hype train.
Yeah, yeah. We've already had a taste of this before because last year OBJ had missed time and Peoples Jones had productive games, made some nice flashy plays last year. And then he had like didn't he have a game this year earlier where he did it? Then OBJ came back. It just sort of feels like this has always been kind of looming. But he's never really had that opportunity to just be like, okay, this is your role here on out because of Odell. And yeah, now it's like he's got that monkey off his back and he can just like sigh a little sigh of relief. My position is guaranteed for now, and I can just go out here and play football.
Yeah.
and and it's for whatever reason I don't understand. Makes no sense. But Baker and Peoples Jones do seem to be like more on the same page, more chemistry, and connect on a fairly regular basis on those big plays that him and Odell never could. It's really strange, but it's a reality. So yeah, he is interesting. What is Stafford's status? I mean, I know he had that play where he kind of almost tripped over himself. It looked like there was nothing that came out after the fact saying that he was like in any danger of missing any time. And I just checked to make sure that I didn't miss anything that just recently came up today. And no, there hasn't been anything else that's been out there. I'm sure if he was in danger of missing this week, we probably already would have heard something.
I mean, the last week when he, or was it last week or the week before, he had an off game and it was because he hit his thumb on a helmet. Like, there's a little bit of excuse making happening here. Oh,
Yeah.
Stafford had the worst game of the year. His ankles rolled.
Yeah. DJ Moore, Waddle, and Daryl Williams. Um, Yo, Cameron, what's up? So
What
DJ
up?
Moore, Waddle, and Daryl Williams. Shit, bro, it's Tuesday. I gotta pull up these schedules. You already know. I gotta pull up these schedules. We just got out of that. We just got out of last week. Um, so with DJ Moore, this was one of the things we were gonna bring up, but Sam Darnold is missing several weeks. I don't know if you've seen that or not, Justin, but he's out for several weeks. So it's going to be PJ Walker that's going to be starting for them. Their schedule gets really nice, but after this week they play the Cardinals. Cardinals have been one of the best defenses in the league this year. So I'm pretty nervous about that matchup with DJ Moore. But after that, they get to play Washington. Who the hell else did they play? I think I had it right here in front of me. Washington, the Dolphins, the Falcons. So that's nice. But this week I'm worried about DJ Moore. Waddle, Daryl Williams start one. I'll go Daryl Williams there, but I will say about Waddle too that Devontae Parker, obviously he's on IR, so he's still going to be out. And Will Fuller, there was some speculation whether he would come back or not. Dolphins already said he's not coming back this week either, so it looks like it's going to be another week of Waddle and Gesicki.
And
Who do you
Waddle, we picked a couple guys over Waddle last week, and he ended up having a pretty nice game. I
did?
think, I mean, the consistency comes from the slot, and I get that. So like, I'm not changing, I guess, how I feel about the player, who I also thought had some potential coming in, but he's growing on me. I think I might go. I'm leaning Waddle, honestly, but it would be
Yeah.
between Waddle and Williams for me too. The whole not having Darnold thing, PJ Williams, they the Panthers felt really great through the first 4 weeks this year, and they have felt like really weird for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
No
Uh,
Darnold, it's weird. Walker hasn't really looked good.
no, he hasn't. I just it's really tough to play a DJ Moore in a matchup that on paper looks pretty bad with a backup quarterback who has looked nothing short of terrible in the little bit of time that he's got to play. um, so it's a tough one to get excited about. I do like Waddle too. Like I just definitely like him without Devontae Parker because it just feels like it's a more locked, guaranteed role. But they play the Ravens, and the Ravens have given up like big plays, so that's certainly a possibility. I just I'm just picturing like a Jacoby Brissett getting constantly pressured and getting those zero blitzes from the Ravens. I feel like it could be a real disaster.
It could get weird for sure.
But we don't know that Tua is out yet either. That would change my mind on that too. Tua is a game time decision. Um, do I pick up Freeman and drop Boston Scott? Oh, we talking about yeah, Devonta Freeman. I would do that probably. Yeah, Boston Scott. It was Jordan Howard outtouched him like 17-10, something along those lines. Um, it's a three. I mean, I can call it a three-headed monster. The reality is, and what's kind of crazy is Gainwell's playing less now than he did when Miles Sanders was before he got hurt. Which is really strange,
Yeah.
but it's mostly Jordan Howard and Boston Scott. So it's not like Boston Scott's just completely irrelevant. He had 12 touches and a touchdown 2 weeks ago. Had 10 touches this week, 40 yards. Didn't get in the end zone. But you certainly don't love the fact that Jordan Howard is heavily involved as well. He scored again this week, and the fact that the Eagles play the Broncos. I mean, I don't. I'm not in love with the matchup, and the Eagles any week can fall flat on their face with that offense.
Jalen Hurts gets some carries too. It's a mess.
Right.
I
It
would
is a
like to
mess.
get away from Philly's backfield. I understand the stream opportunity, but because I didn't see the game that I wanted to see out of Scott, in
Yeah.
this last week, I think I'm out.
I mean, it's not like the Ravens situation's really that much different to be honest. It's just that I trust that team's ability more than I trust the Eagles. Plus the Ravens are getting the Dolphins, and the Dolphins for most of this year have been a really nice matchup to go against. Um, Freeman was heavily involved this past week, and Latavius Murray didn't practice today, and that game's Thursday. So it would seem like he's probably out again.
I don't have anything that draws me to Boswell either. Pittsburgh's kicker. That's I don't know. I mean, he's had moments that remind you who he is. Like I knew his name off the top of my head because he has had some games or some stretches, but I mean, he's been around long enough now. He's just not really a thing. He'll take advantage of some opportunities here and there, but he'll miss enough kicks to really sap his fantasy value, and I don't think he's a factor. And that offense isn't really humming either. It's looking pretty rough.
Yeah. So should I keep Hill and don't pick up Jimmy G?
Hill like
What?
Taysom Hill.
Right? Yeah. What Hill are we talking? I assume you. I mean, if you're, yeah, probably talking about Taysom Hill.
Denver's defense just got lit up, and I was kind of big on them, but they are playing at home against Philly, and I like them again. I like Denver's defense at home against the Eagles. The Eagles have been on a little bit of a heater though, so like I feel like it proceed with caution kind of thing, but the matchup for what it is, I like Denver. Tennessee has been better, but they've been kind of out racing some teams I feel like as opposed to just shutting them down. Where are you at with that? Would you rather have Tennessee at home against New Orleans or Denver at home against Philly? Either.
Um, yeah. Can we get different options? uh, because either of those can go okay and either of those can go bad. Um, you know, Jalen Hurts has played a little bit better, but I don't trust it. I don't think that's staying all year. But he's been a little bit better. Um, because I've always been interested in going against and playing a defense against Philly because of him, because of turnovers and sacks and things like that. But he's had that under control a little bit better the last couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on there. I would probably play Denver as well, and I would rather. There's got to be somebody out there that I like more. It's got to be. Which kicker do you like, man? You tell me. I'm trying to figure that out too.
I mean, if you're streaming for this week with the Lions matchup, I get that.
Sure.
The Lions traditionally haven't played very well on the road either, and it is in Pittsburgh, so I expect that to be a really one-sided game. If he has a good game and they don't have a good matchup next week, though, like I'm still moving on. I'm not gonna let that game. If he has a good game, I'm not letting it sell me on keeping him.
Yeah. Daniel Carlson, the Raiders kicker. The Raiders play Kansas City this week. I think that I don't know if the Raiders will be able to score a lot of points against them. Maybe they will, but I would think that they should be able to have decent success moving the ball against them, and there might be some opportunity there for some field goals.
Another intriguing option that we've both been interested in. I'll just tell you how it's gonna go right now. Greg Zerline, okay, he will have a nice game, or if he'll have a decent stretch where he'll have like 3 decent games in a row. And Dallas was flat this week, and they ended up going for
Yeah.
2 2-point conversions on the 2 touchdowns they scored late, very late.
Yep.
But they've got a nice matchup and they're at home, so part of me thinks like, oh, they'll rebound. Let me tell you what's going to happen with Greg Zerline. Dallas is going to go like just ham, right? And Greg Zerline's going to end up with like 4 or 5 extra points, and you're going to be like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But also intriguing. If I'm streaming kickers, he'd have my attention. I've been burned by him once this year, but he is interesting. What?
Yeah, he is. He tested positive for COVID.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's
would
out.
for low percentage kickers because obviously I don't know every kicker that's available in your league, but Daniel Carlson would be. He's been like that steady guy. He usually is, to be honest. For some reason he's just not a guy that people ever want on their as their kicker. But the matchup to me, I think there's just real potential there for a kicker. It's hard. It's super hard to predict those because like you have to totally predict how the game's gonna go, and that's almost impossible. But that's probably somewhere I would lean, to be honest. I mean, maybe like a Brandon McManus, like he has a big leg. He hasn't really put up he hasn't scored a lot of points this week because of Denver's offense as a whole. But I'm not scared of Philly, and it is in Denver.
I don't really think enough of Taysom to keep him over Jimmy G. Like, there's that chance that he gets the rushing stats too, and it ends up being nice. And I get that. I'm not really like super big on Jimmy G either. Um,
No,
I think Jimmy's the safer pick, and I do think he can be productive for you. So I mean, if it's something you're thinking about, plus it gives you that matchup insurance for the later game. You said they're both playing
is
on Monday, I think. He's got
is
Stafford and wants Jimmy G.
is Wentz available? He's like half owned on ESPN leagues, but is Carson available in your league?
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I'm getting the vibe that he wants to hold out for Stafford. Wentz would be a nice option to start regardless, so that way you know
I
you
see.
have a good option in there. And I like that too.
I see. Yeah, that would make sense. The Monday game.
Yeah.
My I mean, I appreciate you trying to figure it out now before waivers and come up with a plan. That's the smart thing to do. But I do believe though that you're gonna be able to have Stafford available. I highly doubt he's not going to play. He's a dude that, I mean, outside of just that last year when he basically had a broken back and he didn't play, Stafford has always played through injuries, and the Rams just lost. I think Stafford's playing against the Niners.
We've seen a little bit more of that this year, I think, than we have like in the last few years. But seems like there's a little bit of extra fire, especially in that division. But when players are on the fence or you're a little worried about their health and all of a sudden they're like showing up, it's like kind of clear sometimes. At least this year, like, well, that's a division game, and they want that dub.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big game. It's a big game for both teams, but obviously the Rams, like they're chasing behind Arizona right now, and that's an in division game. Be a fun one to watch. Uh, let's see here. So yes, we mentioned Darnold. Did we
For
talk
our
about that
list,
Browns backfield?
well, we had one more. We were doing the Cleveland theme for a little bit, and we have their halfbacks.
Yeah, yeah. So Chubb. So he tests positive for COVID, but he's vaccinated. So all he needs to do is test negative twice in a 24-hour period before the game. And if he can do that, not have any symptoms, then he's good to go and he'll be fine. He could play. If not, that Demetric Felton, I think that's how you say his first name, like the third back that they had there, the third guy after Kareem Hunt got hurt, he also tested positive for COVID. So
What are they
there's.
making out under the bleachers?
Oh, fucking guy's kissing. Chubb and Felton sitting in a tree.
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, Dearness Johnson would be, he would be, it would be like 2 or 3 weeks ago, whenever that was, when it was just his backfield. Um, that could be him again if these guys don't clear. It seems like it's fairly likely that Chubb's going to be able to make that happen, being vaccinated. But I mean, if Dearness Johnson had been dropped after this past week, which I wouldn't blame people for doing, then and you needed a running back this week, it would be. There's probably not many other guys out there that are that could potentially be a better play than him if it was his backfield again.
And he had been involved a couple of games too when Chubb was healthy, as like a little bit of a complimentary thing. It wasn't like a 1A 1B, but I mean he was still getting some volume if you think you're putting yourself in a position to have to use him.
Right. He was, yeah. It's even if Chubb was in, it's not like he would be a. It's not like he would just not get any touches or be on the field at all. He had another opportunity for a touchdown this week. He just didn't convert on it. So there's another running back. Looks like he's going to be out. And that would be your boy Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
Yeah.
I was thinking about making a trade for James Conner because the guy in our league that has him doesn't even play him. Dude's like a RB1, and he just sits on this guy's bench every week. So I'm like, maybe I could throw. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could throw like Ronald Jones out there because he can sit the bench too.
See, the problem
He's
though,
good at
like
sitting the bench.
if you're saying that guy doesn't play him, then like the guy's probably not even active in the league. I don't see. You're probably not gonna be able to make the trade happen.
Yeah, that's a good
That would be
point.
my guess.
uh,
I'm
yeah.
thinking
So I
he's gonna
mean,
be a starter on that guy's team next week. I'm taking a wild stab at it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
So
we're
yeah,
at a
Chase Edmonds might be out for. I mean, with his injury, it was reported 4 to 6 weeks, but he's not even been placed in IR yet. I don't know what's going on there. We haven't had an update on that. Going to assume that Edmonds is going to go on IR, and yeah, James Conner would he would have to be a running back that you're playing at that point.
Yeah, the
In the
name
meantime,
that's being thrown out there is this Eno Benjamin, and I hear that and I'm like, no, James Conner's just gonna get more volume.
maybe I think there's some weight there with that with Benjamin. He had nine carries in that game, and he had one particular run. I don't know if the guy's like some awesome player, but he did have one run where he completely truck sticked the guy and scored. Um, Somebody came in to make a tackle on him. He put his pads down, leveled the dude, and then walked into the end zone. Carolina, they're playing Carolina this week. I would feel a lot better about. I mean, I'm gonna play James Conner regardless, but I would feel a lot better if I was in a deeper league and I was looking at a guy like an Eno Benjamin. I would feel a lot better about it if Kyler Murray was playing. I mean, Colt McCoy did just fine as a fill-in, but you never want to bank on backups long term. So, because that can go sideways real quick. If Kyler plays, then yeah, I mean, you're definitely playing James Conner, and there's several running backs I would rather play over Eno Benjamin that are available in waivers this week. But I think he would be worth in a deeper league. He would be worth putting in like a $0 bid or something like that.
Just
'Cause
kind
you
of
never
waiting
know.
and see. Yeah, giving you a chance to feel it out.
Well, it's the thing too though is just it's Chase Edmonds' timetable, or yeah, for his return. I mean, if it does legitimately turn into 4 to 6 weeks, but even if it turns into 3, and you can have another running back, you can have the second running back tied to that offense, and of course we expect Kyler to be back sooner rather than later. It seems so. It's not like this is just a 1 week thing. You're gonna get to have these guys for multiple weeks, and that just makes it more intriguing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Um, we got this is kind of a running back heavy week here, but we got a
It
few
is.
more. We got James Robinson could be back this week.
Yeah.
Feel
Yeah,
like
he
if
might
he
be back.
is, we're excited, and if he's not, then you might have to start Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, and I think you could. I think you could play him too. The the Colts are a weird defense because they've got some names over there on that defense, but they haven't been a scary matchup to go against.
No, and they have been decent against the run. That they got into like 3, maybe even 4 DB injuries that they've slowly recovered from. Kerry Rhodes is out there and he's been playing pretty good for them, better than he did in Minnesota. But he comes out like every game too. I don't know if he's just really like trying to fight through some stuff, but I've
Right.
watched some of their games and it's like, man, they already are banged up at corner, and this guy's out here coming off the field once or twice a game. So
Right.
they've had some issues.
Is it safe to drop Herbert now with Monty back? Uh, if you have to, if there's a position you need to fill this week from waivers, or there's a particular waiver wire claim you really want to get, and you're looking at your bench and Herbert's the only one that makes sense for you, then I am fine with it. But I would prefer to hold him if I could. I think he's more valuable than even some of the running backs that we'll end up naming tonight, and because I just think he's a really capable player. I was surprised to see Montgomery get as much work as he did with his first game back, but obviously the Bears, when they brought him back, they obviously felt like they were bringing him back when he was fully healthy. And hey, that's Matt Nagy for you.
Right.
Have this guy who's really showed out over the last several weeks, and just make him a non-factor as soon as somebody else comes back. Stupid coach, stupid play calling, but yeah.
I
If you can
go
hold him, I would. If you have to drop him, it's fine.
Justin. I go Wentz. Wentz is fringe quarterback 1 right now, and he's had some adversity to start the year. Like new team, he kind of got thrown into the mix. Hilton's been out. I think we have to proceed as though Hilton's just not going to be healthy at this point, but they're getting Hines involved too. If Hilton is healthy, I'm really excited about Wentz, but even with the adversity, he's like QB 11 right now. I think
Mm-hmm.
Andy has a good matchup, so like I think I'm just running Wentz out there if I'm that worried about Stafford, and I would prefer to do that. If you're worried about it, then like wait and have to start Jimmy G. I agree with Josh. I think Stafford does play. Um, I don't love that they're going into San Francisco and playing, and if he gets enough pressure, I think that could end up being another ugly look for him. But he's been so good so far this year that it's hard to steer away from it. So I would try to plan on starting Stafford if you are worried about it, which it seems like you are. I would pick up Wentz, and I mean you still have a few days to make that decision, and there probably will be some more news coming out or lack thereof on Stafford that'll help you feel better about who you want to roll with before 1 o'clock. Wentz has been good. Honestly, I think he's being slept on a little bit for fantasy, and I think it could get better for him. I mean, he came out of a really nasty situation. I mean, look at what Michael Pittman's done with Carson Wentz showing up like that. I think Carson Wentz is a pretty good player, and they could be getting another above average option in Hilton back.
And Jonathan Taylor is helping out that entire offense, including Wentz as well. He's
Yeah, he's a
he's
freak.
demanding attention from the defense. That's helping Carson Wentz a lot too.
They play indoors. Their division is very approachable. Like even Tennessee, who's been on a roll, their defense isn't that great. Like there's a lot to like about Wentz.
Yeah. Well, and Jimmy G could lose his job any week. Any week, Trey Lance could come in. We don't know about that.
I don't really want Jimmy G throwing against the Rams defense.
Hell no, I don't either. And we did pretty good job. We called a couple of trap games last week that ended up being the case.
Yeah.
But Jimmy G would have no business with the way he's looked for the most of this year to have any success against the Rams. And it's a primetime game, and weird shit always happens on primetime games. So watch Jimmy G go ball out tonight or on Monday. Because why? Why not? Because that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. Happens all the time. Trap games are real.
They are real. I'm looking for the next interesting thing here. Chris Carson might be back. Just pay attention for that. Russell Wilson is supposed to be back as well. So, if you have Chris Carson, cool. If you don't, I mean, why wouldn't Alex Collins be considered as well if he's been dropped? I would be more excited to play him if Russell Wilson's out there, and it sounds like he's going to be. So, just another running back we can throw his name in the hat.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them this week that are that type, where we really don't know how good or bad it's going to go for him, but there's a lot of them this week that you could throw out there.
There are. The one that I like, and sounds like I might be the only one, is Mark Ingram. I've been interested in him a couple different times for different reasons. This year he had the volume in Houston, and he ended up not doing anything with that. But he's currently owned in 22.8% of leagues, and he had like 45% of the volume out of the Saints backfield. And I actually was interested in him before I found out about this, but you were telling me that Kamara's a little banged up too, and that might be enough to either swing the volume or jeopardize his ability to play on Sunday. So, couple different reasons that Mark Ingram is kind of interesting. It seems like he's just kind of plugged back into a situation similar to where they were last time they had him. So I don't know. I mean, it's got me interested. I think maybe he might be a little, what do you call it, rejuvenated with the return too. He's back with his boy. He had a lot of love for Kamara when they were together. So I think it's interesting. I think it's at least worth monitoring for the rest of the year. When they were paired up, even if you're not getting all of the volume, you are getting a goal line back. I think that they would prefer for him to be doing some of the tough sledding. I know Kamara's taken on some more of that in the last couple years, but I like Mark Ingram.
Yeah, look, Kamara's had a lot of work this year, a lot of volume, and any year he's done that, he's got hurt. He was in a medical tent this past week during the game, and the Saints worked out 3 running backs today. there hasn't been any report that Kamara's going to miss time, but there's just been no news. So we don't know what's going on with that exactly. But it is strange that they just brought in Mark Ingram, and now they're working out several running backs. So that's just something we're going to have to watch. It seems like we're not going to get any news before waivers go tomorrow on what's going on with that, if anything. So, would you put a claim in for Mark Ingram and uh, just see, like, because if it turns out that Kamara is going to miss a week or multiple, then then I am definitely interested in Mark Ingram. If you've seen Mark Ingram play this year or even last year, I think everybody probably knows, like, I wouldn't picture the Mark Ingram of old with the Saints. I don't think it's going to be that, because I don't think he is really anywhere close to that guy anymore. I think if he still was, he'd still be in Baltimore. But obviously he's very familiar with that offense, and Sean Payton is obviously very familiar with him, and he would be the guy. And it's not like he's completely just an unusable player. Like, he could still get something done. So yeah, I mean, I would be interested too. It's just that we won't know. It doesn't seem like, we're not going to know what's going on with Kamara. If anything, this could just be some weird thing unrelated. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it's COVID.
I mean, yeah, maybe. We probably would know if it was that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely would be interested in Mark Ingram.
We have said this name over and over and over again this year, and the arrows are still just slightly pointing up for this guy, just like they have been since like week 2.
Is this a receiver or running back?
Receiver.
Tim Patrick?
Nope, this guy has been doing just enough each week to keep you optimistic. Brandon Ayuk. It's like okay, hard pass for a few weeks, and then it's like, oh well, I saw a little bit more, I saw a little bit more, I saw a little bit more. It is getting better for him still, and he still is only owned in 45% of leagues. Um, this last game was the ideal scenario for him though, with like the Debo was banged up a little bit, right? Kittle was on a snap count, like that was when he should have blown up. So I'm still a little hesitant, but like the player's still the player. I still feel like there's a half dozen really good football players that have a lot more to offer than what they've done so far, and he's definitely one of them. So
Yeah.
under 50% owned is too low for him. There's nothing that I'm aware of that could prevent him from having a stretch like he did at the end of last year, and I think you can do worse than picking him up and seeing how that plays out.
Well, I think we said the same thing last week, but if you are looking at all these guys that are on waivers that you consider picking up as plug-in, a lot of these guys at this point, week 10, a lot of these guys are temporary solutions. How many guys are out there that are available right now that are as talented as Brandon Ayuk is, that are available on waivers? Probably not many. And he is in the exact same situation as last year. It just hasn't worked out for maybe multiple reasons. Who knows? But yeah, he finally had himself a game, and the bonus to that is like there were several grabs he made that were real nice. I did go back and watch it. I was encouraged by it for sure, especially considering too that Kittle was back in that game, and Kittle had himself a game. He had a good game, and Ayuk was still able to produce too.
Yeah.
You would think that they would need him against the Rams.
I mean, what if in some weird way, like Kittle being on the field is what was allowing Ayuk to succeed?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I'm sure Kittle demands a lot of attention himself.
Yeah, like I haven't seen why, right? But like I'm just throwing it out there. Like I wonder if that is actually like.
Well, I mean, Kittle didn't really play last year, right?
That's true.
He was basically
out.
just out. Yeah. And Ayuk crushed it for most of the year.
And Debo played well at times, but nothing like he has been this year. Like he was not drawing the attention he is this year.
No. No, he's not.
It's weird.
Yeah. Ayuk is this is feeling like a fool me once, fool me twice situation, but I'm there with you. I feel the same way about him. I mean, my God, I as soon as he got dropped, I put a pretty high dollar amount on that guy, and I've been sitting on him on the bench for many weeks, it feels. Just waiting and waiting and hoping.
It's his best week he's had in a while, though. I think that's I I don't know. I just feel the same way I have over the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's like I think it's going to get better. I feel like we're seeing the right signs. It just needs to happen.
Right.
Somebody that I'm just going to throw out there because the last time the last time Tampa's starting running back Leonard Fournette handled a workload like he has this year, he's been banged up. And the time before that, and the time before that. I think it's time to pick up Ronald Jones. I scooped him up last week. I'm always a week or two early, but I feel like Leonard Fournette is just like beating probability right now with his durability, and it's driving me nuts. Ronald Jones needs an opportunity. Sometimes these things just have a way of happening. Leonard Fournette was not a very durable player. He actually was banged up last year and just happened to get healthy just in time to take over for Ronald Jones. So it feels like it's coming, man. And I don't like investing in injuries, but with the running back options that aren't out there, and we've thrown a couple names out there that are interesting for short periods, and we've done a good job of explaining why. I think Ronald Jones being the back if Fournette were to go down would be like high-end running back 2 and somebody you could count on like any I don't know, and for the rest of the season or the rest of the time that Fournette might be out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming. It's coming. Everybody else is getting hurt and sick.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing we can guarantee, it's that some more players are gonna be getting hurt this week, and then players buying them are gonna matter because of it. So of course it could be Leonard Fournette. Who knows? I mean, yeah, Ronald Jones would be one of those handcuff running backs that would. Yeah, I mean, you'd rather have him with no Leonard Fournette there than just probably every running back that we're talking about right now that's on waivers. I mean, I think that's a situation where when you're a team that's when you're a team that's got a good record and you're you've got lucky and you're not really dealing with injuries, then those are probably the smarter moves to make. Especially if you have a Leonard Fournette, those are probably the smarter moves to make. But most people, including all of us, aren't in that situation. We we have all the injuries we're dealing with, and we got to fill positions each week. And then when you pick up a Ronald Jones, like you can't play him right now.
Well, and when you don't have injuries, you have guys that need to take time away. You go lose to dumpster fires of rosters that have Adrian Peterson in their flex,
Right.
scoring a touchdown with 5 minutes left. I lost by less than 1 full point in fantasy this week
This sounds more like PTSD to me.
to Adrian Peterson. This man started Bryan Edwards and Randall Cobb, and I had like a healthy lineup. I was missing Calvin Ridley. That was it. And I had OBJ on the bench, who hasn't really been productive anyway. Tell
I mean,
me
look,
how that happens.
his roster scored the proper amount of points for who he was putting out there.
Listen,
It
I
was
don't
like
know what my
80-something
guys were
points.
doing out there, but if I don't put up 200 points this week, I'm firing all of them. I will cut every player.
Yeah.
I think
There's
if you get,
another.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Gabe.
No, I thought there was like a written, unwritten rule in this league that if you got last place as the commish, you lose your job.
Ooh.
You know, I don't have to worry about that. I've never come in last place.
I know.
I usually like between third and sixth is my sweet spot in the draft.
Yep.
If I did
Yeah.
full sell, like if I got the first overall pick, let me put it this way. If I had Najee Harris on my team right now, y'all be in trouble. Think about that.
What you
They
would
call
full
that
throw for next
integrity
year?
over here at Tagerty Farms. We fucking win every game we can and lose to trash can dumpster fires. That's what we do.
What are you, the Titans?
I don't
For
know
real.
what I am anymore.
I'm the
Well,
Falcons.
there's another there's another running back situation that is got a lot going on. Got a lot going on here. New England. You see what's going on with all this crap?
Like
Harris,
news, I saw that Ramondre Stevenson was involved in the pass game again.
Ramondre Stevenson played quite a bit. Did what he always does when he gets the time when he gets to play. Went out there and he crushed it. Okay, because that's what he does. But that don't matter though, because he gets concussed and he's going through concussion protocol. Now, the reason why that sucks even more than it normally would is because Damian Harris, before Ramondre Stevenson got concussed, Harris got concussed and he's out and he's going through concussion protocol. And then it was like, okay, so this is Stevenson's backfield for the rest of this game and then maybe even next week, depending on how it goes. And it was going pretty good. And then he got concussed. So we don't know what's going on with those two, which means that, I mean, I don't know what you can do about a waiver claim with any of them. It's because you're just taking a shot in the dark. Like Stevenson might not get cleared, might not play. And if Damian Harris ends up in the same situation, it's going to be Brandon Bolden and JJ Taylor. I mean, I don't even know who you want to play there, but I know JJ Taylor got red zone looks last time he was active and then got in on those red zone looks. Brandon Bolden's obviously really heavily involved in the passing game. So he's probably like the safe guy, but it's just another backfield that, it's kind of a mess. But I will just say the one play I would be interested in is probably pretty obvious. But if Harris was out and Stevenson got cleared, I think Stevenson would be a really nice play.
See, if they could have went and got Rex Burkhead for nothing, they'd be fine.
Yeah, they already know what the situation is though. Like, I'll give you 2 quarters. 2 quarters.
Look at this though. Look at this.
What's that?
Just what they have to deal with now.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's a mess.
Whatever happened with James White?
Dunzo, I thought.
Yeah, out for the year.
Is he for the year? That's what I was
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was out for the season when that happened.
out.
He's on your IR.
Poor guy.
He's one spot below James Conner on your roster.
Not for next week. Hey, what did I tell you at the beginning of this year? It was either James Conner or Kenyon Drake, all right? And I was like, who's going to get the chance to play later in the season?
I don't know. Yeah, and I had already drafted Josh Jacobs and Chase Edmonds, so fuck you.
So Connor it was.
You wanted the 2 guys you were interested in were my handcuffs.
Bro,
Listen,
was slim.
you've got a
Slim
target on my
pickings.
back all year, okay? You go and you pick up Rondale Moore. You're drafting my handcuffs. I don't know what I did to you, okay? But like, you just need to come out with it already. These games.
I know what it was.
I don't even know what it was.
Dubs drafted your keeper,
He did draft my keeper.
and now that guy looks like he's gonna go play for Green Bay or Kansas City.
What do you think? Odell Beckham for James Conner.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Listen, if Beckham goes to the right spot, that's a league changer.
100%. I'll let you change that one.
We play each other again this year too. I'm pretty sure.
He's so salty right now.
Yeah. Watch it happen. I hope Odell goes for 30. It's a fair
I hope
point.
he does for you
It's a fair
too.
point. You could have just told me that though. Like you didn't have to just go like
Honestly,
cursing
it
my
wasn't.
season.
I cursed my own, bro.
There's different ways to go about it. I get it. You didn't want to tell me like, hey, kind of wish you wouldn't have drafted Odell. Maybe we can swing a trade. You're like, I am going to sabotage your season, like superstitiously sabotage your season.
Josh, isn't this what I told you I was gonna do early on?
What's that?
Sabotage.
Yeah. Well, look, speaking of Odell,
Yes.
per source at this point in time, Odell Beckham Jr. still would prefer to sign with the Packers. However, Green Bay's front office has not been as aggressive as others. They do have interest, though. If they come through with a competitive offer, Beckham will likely sign with GB.
Yeah.
So that sounds just about like what we would expect.
They are so weird though, where they won't go get receivers, and Rodgers wants them to, and made it clear he wanted them to, and it like was 3 years of him wanting an extra target, and what do? It was like 2 years ago they go and they signed Devin Funches, who opted out for COVID. He didn't even play for them, and then um Rodgers really twists their arm and they bring back Randall Cobb. It's like that's their own guy, and I agree they like their homegrown guys. Like that part's obvious. So like even the Cobb acquisition doesn't really count to an extent because that is one of their guys.
Yeah.
But like, why is the one receiver move that you wanted to make Devin Funches? Why is that the one you want to say like we went and got a guy?
Probably because he was like, I'll play for half a league minimum. They're like, done.
And yeah, yeah. And you can say that like Rodgers makes receivers better, but like what are all these other bums doing? Like how good was Jordy Nelson? I guess is the real question because I'm starting to think he was really good.
I think he was really good for a stretch.
It's weird,
It
man.
would be it is what they would need. Like they would need a healthy Odell if they truly want to even get to the Super Bowl. Like they can't do it with just Devontae. I know they have Aaron Jones, but as far as pass catchers go, they can't do it with just Devontae. It's not enough.
They've been really missing too. One thing I've noticed because he's been great for them the last 2 years, but Zadarius Smith has been like noticeably absent for that team. He's been on IR, but he's been so good for them. He's one of those guys that they've been just ripping off the edge on pass rush and blitz like rushing him, and he gets pressure all the time. He's been huge for that team, and he's been out for a while. And that
Yeah.
is like insert Rashawn Gary, who like has had some very short moments, but he hasn't been anywhere near what Zadarius Smith is. That dude's been a freak.
Did their corner get healthy? Has he been back?
Jair?
Alexander? Yeah.
No, I just had him pulled up, and he's not. He was on. I think he was on IR. He has an outside shot at returning this season, is what they said 2 weeks ago.
Dang.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big deal for that team, for that defense too.
for sure. Those are probably their two best players on defense. Kenny Smith was out too last week, or well,
Yeah.
last game. Those are probably their three best defensive players.
Redraft, full PPR. Oh, I see what you're saying. Full PPR, Hines versus
Or Kenny
Jacksonville,
Clark, my bad.
or Gibson versus TB. Oof. Let me pull up Antonio Gibson real quick. I haven't heard much because they had their bye week. He's been dealing with that shin, and then last week that Washington, the last game for Washington, he wasn't on the field a whole lot. Yeah, there's nothing new. So I assume he's all right. I really don't know what's going on with Antonio Gibson. That last game that Washington played had me really freaked out. Up until that point, like we were aware of Gibson's injury, but at the same time, I really like Antonio Gibson the player, and so I was. Hey, hey. Sorry, damn dogs. Um, I guess what I'm getting at is I I really don't want to play Hines because he's done this to us so many times where he produces, has a really nice game, and then you think and like he looks so good on the field too, that's the thing. And so you want to play that guy when he's coming off a big game. And he almost never repeats. He goes dark for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time.
Tampa Bay's run D isn't as scary as it had been either. Like a lot of teams have been avoiding them, but there have been a couple teams that have tried to run against them, and they've done pretty well. Like, um, there, I can't remember the first team that did it, but most recently the Saints ran the ball, and like Mark Ingram, not off the street, but like fresh off of playing for Houston, shows up for the Saints, and he ended up with like 4.5 yards per carry on what 9 carries or something.
It
And that
was Khalil Herbert.
Khalil Herbert did it. Mark Ingram did it in a small sample, but like the people
Yeah.
that have ran against them have had some success.
Yeah. I totally I do get it on paper though, not wanting to go into Tampa Bay. Plus Gibson's been very hit or miss lately with his injury and not playing as much, but I still have to I feel like off principle I still have to play Antonio Gibson over Hines.
Run it. Did you say redraft because there's like a trade? Is there a trade involved in here, or
I think he's just being making sure he's not leaving out any details.
gotcha?
Hines is a really interesting case because obviously he's got a great running back in front of him, but Hines himself, he's so he's so good in open field, and he's really fast. He's a great pass catcher for a running back.
That runs real routes too.
Yeah, I like him, but he's never he's it's pretty rare for him to like have a string of games that he puts together that are nice. Thoughts on Tony rest of the season? Uh, I think he's just a hold. I don't really you obviously I don't think you can start him with any sort of confidence right now, but I'm not dropping him either. I still think he just showed way too much in a short window. Like there's a lot there. Like yeah, I think he's really talented, but it's certainly not a perfect situation. Daniel Jones is not a very good quarterback. The Giants organization is just it's just a pitiful ran organization. Jason Garrett's offensive coordinator can't stand that either. There's a lot of bad there, but Daniel Jones can keep pass catchers relevant for fantasy, and I do think Tony's the most talented player they have.
Can't keep Kenny Galladay relevant. That's for sure.
Right? Yeah.
No,
No,
he
Daniel Jones need guys that get separation,
yes.
and Tony can do that. We the thing too with Tony is like he had the one catch, but like Daniel Jones, he also played about half the snaps. He wasn't targeted a lot. Daniel Jones also only had 110 yards in that game. I don't know how much you can take away from it, and I also still I know Tony was off the injury report, but he had that ankle he was dealing with for 2 games and then couldn't complete the one that he tried to go in and then came out. Like I don't know if he's fully healthy or not. I'm not really sure what's going on with all that. But he's a hold. If unless you are like in a spot where you have to pick up a couple different players, then obviously you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. What do we think about uh, Corey Davis? Is he supposed to be back yet?
I think he is actually. I will pull him up right now. I do believe I read that he was supposed to be coming back.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be out for all that long, and he's already missed a couple games, right?
Yeah, I think the Jets play Buffalo this week,
Yeah,
so that's not good.
one day ago, Salah, whatever, said that he expects him to return.
And it also seems like James White. That was his name, right? That damn quarterback they have.
Oh,
Why did that not sound right?
James White's the running back.
Yeah,
It's White.
Mike
White.
Mike White. This random quarterback out there throwing for 400 yards. You know what's crazy too is on that one series, or maybe it was 2 series they had before he got hurt in that last game. He looked pretty good. He was out there making some nice throws. I don't
For
know if
sure.
that guy's a real deal or not. It would seem hard to believe, but I would. I mean, I for right now, I would rather see him play over Zach Wilson, and that sounds like that's going to be the case at least for one more week. But yeah, it's the Bills. So I don't really want to play anybody there.
He was
I mean, if you
coming in with all that confidence about the. Well, you remember the tweet where he like tweeted um he tweeted as a senior in high school that he was going to beat Peyton Manning's records. I don't know
yeah,
if you saw that, but then he came out, and I was watching when he got hurt. He came out of that game. It looked like he hit his hand or tweaked like a ligament, like a finger ligament or something. It looked like he was really focused on his ring finger. And when I saw that, and I'm like, bro, you're getting a chance to play at what 26 years old or whatever he is. You're getting your shot in the league, and you're coming out because your ring finger's banged up. Ain't nobody better out there gonna come fill in for you. Like you just go make it work. Go tape it to something else and get out there. Like I was really bummed out to see that.
sure.
He's soft.
Uh, I would rather have. You're saying Tony or Bateman rest of the season? That's a good question because I like both guys. I would probably, boy,
I go Bateman.
yeah, and I think that's the pick that makes sense. I think you should go Bateman. I can tell you that I personally, like if this was my decision, I go Tony, but only because I play for the ultimate upside, which I think there's a small window for Tony to do that, and Bateman, I just can't picture it in that offense. It's Mark Andrews and it's Hollywood, and those are going to be the main two because they're both really good at what they do. And then maybe Bateman after that. Plus Sammy Watkins has been out, and Sammy Watkins is supposed to be back this week. So we haven't seen Watkins and Bateman on the field together at the same time. It'll be interesting to see how that snap count works, what Baltimore does, because Bateman's looked good. He's looked good so far in the limited amount he's got to play. I like him.
He's been. What I like about it is that it started week 1 when he showed up, and I mean the stat line wasn't huge. He goes 4 for 6 for 29 yards, but that was his first game in the NFL without a preseason. Like, or even if he had a preseason, he had a month-long layoff, right? So
Yeah.
longer than that, like 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So he does that, but if you look at his stat line, which started the week that Sammy Watkins stopped playing, they've been the same player stats wise pretty much. Like so like filling the same role without each other for each game. It's been really interesting. They've been 6 targets and 50 to 80 yards and that's it. Like no real touchdown upside. The interest for me is that I get a little bit of a feeling that Bateman is forcing a little bit of a change on how things have been done over there. Maybe Watkins was doing that a little bit too. But it will be weird with all three of those guys on the field at the same time. Brown's been great. Andrews, I agree with that too. Like he's going to demand targets, but like Watkins and Bateman have both at least proven to be serviceable at this point, and I don't really see the Ravens just slinging it. So like, yeah, I want to see what happens. I think Watkins lost enough, I don't know, moxie, I guess, with his time in Kansas City that I don't know that he's really somebody that's going to force the Ravens' hand at all. I think Bateman still probably has the upside.
Yeah.
They already had Sammy Watkins signed when they drafted Bateman, so like that's also a thing. Like they chose Bateman over Watkins essentially. So I don't know. We'll see. But there's definitely a little bit of risk there with Watkins coming back.
If Gordon stays healthy, do you see Javante breaking out? He's been on my bench so far, hoping he doesn't stay there.
Oh my God.
I think you can. I think you can play him. He doesn't unless you've got like two really good running backs already. I think you can play him. Uh, but do I see him breaking out as in just taking over the running back position for that team and maybe getting like a 70-30 split or 80-20 or something like that? I don't. I don't see that happening. Unless the obvious happens, unless an injury happens. I think that what you've seen so far this season is going to be exactly what you get for the entire year. We've already passed the trade deadline, so we don't get that speculation anymore of does Denver decide to maybe trade Melvin Gordon and commit to Williams, especially considering they've already got like what 4 losses, something like that. Um, I think what we've seen so far is exactly what we're going to get. But
Oh
Williams just
no.
had like 100 yards in this last week, and he's had. I know it's been a little consistent, but he's had multiple games where you would have been happy if you played him.
Dallas, what happened? Why are you doing this? What put you in this position?
To start one of them, I'd rather start Benjamin over Foreman, just because I think that one backfield has two running backs with the Cardinals, and I think I think with Tennessee, what we saw last week is probably what we're gonna get again. AP has the. It seems like AP would likely be the guy out there for some goal line work, and McNichols has the passing down work, and then Foreman is kind of mixed in. The thing about that is, I thought Foreman running the ball. I thought Foreman looked like the most capable.
McNichols got 2 short yardage carries right before AP fucked me too.
Yeah, McNichols did, and he didn't convert, and then AP came in and did. So that, in my mind, that makes me think that like Tennessee's probably gonna that'll weigh in their decisions in the future, or maybe Foreman gets a shot because I don't think he did.
It definitely affects it, yeah, going forward. I thought it was weird that McNichols got those 2 carries anyway. Um, it was
It
like
was a
on
little.
3rd and goal on the 3, or it, no, sorry. It was a goal to go on the 3, and then goal to go on like the 1. He got stopped.
Yeah. Oh, Chubb. Yeah, Chubb with the with the test. Chubb might still be able to get cleared
Hopefully.
before that game. Did Deer? I'm guessing if you're looking at those two, then this is not the case. So probably stupid of me to ask, but Dearness Johnson get dropped? If he did, and he's probably not going to get dropped now. Check those drops tomorrow. Those waiver drops. Maybe somebody that if somebody has him and they weren't paying attention, maybe he gets dropped. And go pick him up.
I mean, am I weird for being more interested? I get if it's an outlier because sometimes you just have like a little bit of a crush, and you need to be aware of those things when they happen. You can still act on them, all right, but as long as you know that it's happening when it happens. But like, I'm at least as interested in Mark Ingram as I am those 2 guys, and I
What like the
think I'm in the
Foreman's Benjamins of the world?
yeah, and I think I'm in the
Mhm.
minority on that, and I get that. But like Foreman, yeah, he looked good in that sample, but like I remember a lot of bad Foreman, man. Like I I remember. Um, and Benjamin had a good run, so we're cool with that, and he'll get some looks. But I don't know, man. I feel really comfortable with Ingram being back in New Orleans, and not like I'm saying like we're RB1 status, like him and Kamara were both RB1s that year and a half that they were together like that. But
Yeah.
I like
I
what could happen there a lot.
I'm definitely less optimistic, but I would also rather have him probably. No, I mean I definitely would rather have him over Foreman or Benjamin. Like I said, the reason why Benjamin has that little bit of interest to me is because he's unknown, and the offense typically scores a lot of points, and I don't think that they are even interested in committing to James Conner as the workhorse. I don't think they want to do that,
I mean,
and
a
that's really it.
patient, smart team would say like James Conner can't be getting into the 26, 28 carry territory that he was in Pittsburgh because he did not handle that well. And a lot
Exactly.
of teams don't have the ability to follow through on that. But, if the Cardinals do have the ability to stay true to that, like they shouldn't be giving him a massive workload. And then what happens is game day gets a little bit closer, and even more of the teams in the league are like, he could probably do it for a game, though, right?
Right. Well, that's my thing too, though. Like I mentioned earlier, if Edmonds was just a game, if it was like, well, he might get to practice this week, maybe he gets in a limited on Friday, and then he ends up ultimately sitting. I could see James Conner getting over 20 carries or 20 touches, and then next week it goes right back to what it was. but this is multiple weeks, it would seem, and the Cardinals know that going in. So in my mind, they'll have a plan where I believe, yes, he can get an uptick, but I think they'll manage it to some extent. I don't think that dude's going out there and getting it all.
Well, and the big
And
factor too is like all of the other injuries. Like this offense is different right now. Like AJ Green was out for COVID, so he'll probably be back, right? But Hopkins was out. He had an injury. Kyler was out. He had a leg injury. Like this could be a little bit different for the next several weeks. Like for more reasons than just Chase Edmonds.
yeah, it could be. It's Cardinals have had some bad luck over the last couple of weeks, considering. I mean, they won and they won really no problem. So I guess it wasn't an issue for them this past week, but this is a team that was everybody was looking at them like, oh, this might be the Super Bowl team. And then you, Kyler Murray, D Hop, your starting running back, they all go down. It's pretty wild.
I don't think it's bad luck at all. I think they're getting what they deserve. Free Rondale Moore. I said it. Free Rondale Moore. All right? Keep burying him, going and trading for Zach Ertz. Give the guy a break.
Yeah.
Rondale Moore can block as good as Zach Ertz right now. You could have just slung him out there.
Well, Zach Ertz just can't block because he can't get out there in time. That's his only problem. If he could just get a hold of that guy, he could.
That dude's our age. He's younger than we are. You know that?
He's washed. He's old as shit.
He's 30.
That's at least.
He's 30.
That's at least 42 in NFL years.
Dude, he must have come in really young because I feel like he was so old. And I looked him up, and when I saw 30 or 31, I was like, woof.
Yeah.
I get it. Athletically, that is old. Okay.
Well, I mean, for a big guy, big tight end, the age hurts a little bit more. So Travis Kelce is kind of weird that way.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of these names. There's really no one else. Actually, let me check my phone because I think I did save a few more guys. Oh,
nice,
yeah.
Cloudsy. I hate it when a game is that close coming down to a defense, especially a team like Pittsburgh where, like, he hasn't really been that guy this year, but Minkah Fitzpatrick had, like, huge play after huge play last year. Like, that dude's a touchdown machine. So, yeah, I would have been sweating bullets, man.
Did you see, I don't know how much of the game you got to catch, did you see some of those hits that Fitzpatrick was laying on guys?
Hey, Michael. I didn't see the hits he was laying, no.
God, dude, that guy is brutal. They hurt me on the couch.
He is probably. I know some other guys get some love, like Justin Simmons in Denver and the kid out of Cincinnati, but like Minkah Fitzpatrick is probably the best all-around safety in the league. Like he can do everything really well.
He's fun to watch. So Dalvin with the news, and if so, who can I get for Renfro and Dalvin as a package? And by the way, do I start Darrell Henderson this week? Yeah, you can start Darrell Henderson. Unless you start Darrell Henderson. And I wouldn't be getting rid of Dalvin Cook. I don't know. We have very limited information on that right now. But the last that I saw was let me look at the wording of it real quick.
It doesn't seem like it's something that's likely to affect him right now. If you're looking for some insurance on that, you might be able to swing Renfro for Madison at this point, depending on if that person thinks Madison's going to be a factor, if they don't know the news yet. But that's something I'd consider doing. Throw Renfro out there for Madison, and then you're good to go either way.
If you don't need Renfro, and that seems like you don't, based on you throwing his name in there for a package, I really like that idea. I think Dalvin's. I mean, these things. If there's weight to this story, these things usually don't get solved very quickly. And while they are ongoing, these players get to play. Like this is probably something that's going to be dealt with more towards offseason. I would have to assume.
The first
If
news
there's
that we both saw, I think, was that Dalvin was a victim of the same things that he's now being accused of, and this feels
right,
like retaliation or self-preservation from his old lady. So that's why I'm saying I don't think he's going to be affected by it football-wise, because like the news came out first that this stuff happened to him, and now she's saying, you did it. And like that's
mm-hmm.
as childish as it feels right now. So that's why I'm not sweating it. But if it's keeping you up at night, or it's just an uneasy feeling, I'd try to go get Madison. Also, if Dalvin Cook ends up playing, there's been some positive buzz with like the team saying they want him to get more volume too. So like you'd be giving up more than what Dalvin Cook has done so far this year, because unlike a lot of other teams, when the Vikings say they're going to get Dalvin Cook more involved, they do. That happened.
Right.
That I mean, it's rare that teams do that, but they've said it before and they've followed through on it. So I do think that Dalvin Cook, if he's playing, is going to offer more than he has.
I really like the idea that Dub had. Trade Renfro away, go or something, and go get Madison. Give up as little as you can. That way, you're locked in with that insurance. We assume you're going to be just fine, and you're going to be able to play Dalvin the rest of the year, and it's not going to be an issue. If that ends up not being the case, I know it sucks that you then have a player like Dalvin Cook that you didn't get anything for in a trade, but at least you've got the guy who's going to replace him, who's going to be really productive himself. And so, as far as the fantasy points go for that position, you're going to be just fine.
Hypothetically, I would not trade Dalvin Cook. He's just that good, man. Like if
Who
you are
could you?
talking about packaging someone with Dalvin Cook, then you're already selling low. Dalvin Cook was the number 2 player coming into this year, and he's had some issues, and I get that. But like Dalvin Cook, the football player, if he's playing,
Well,
there aren't people that I think are going to give you as much as Dalvin Cook has to offer.
I think there are a couple names that you could throw out there if you were just curious. Some names that are in the same realm. it would be it'd be Kamara. It would be Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor is so hot right now.
So hot right now. It would be maybe Najee Harris, maybe, and that's just like a lot of volume that he gets. He's really heavily involved in the passing game. The Pittsburgh's offense is really that offense goes as Roethlisberger goes, and Roethlisberger's washed. I don't know if you guys saw that deep throw that he tried to make. He couldn't. I think in his mind when he let it go, in his mind it was going for 65, 70 yards. It went well short of that. James Washington had to stop his deep route where he was open and come back to the ball. That offense is not, it's got a ton of names and it's still not very good. But Najee, I would probably consider putting there.
It's a very short list.
That's it. I think that's it. I mean, I guess if you want to go receiver, you could go like Devontae.
You go
Adams.
CM, like CMC at this
CMC's
point
tough
coming
because
off
of how
the
hurt he is all the
injury. He
time.
could get banged up
Yeah.
again. Yeah, like I mean, I think it's a very short list. Zeke just kind of had his first bad game out of this hot streak. I think before that he might be somebody I'd be looking at for riding the hot hand. Kind of like Cloudsy there, like made a traded Julio and Diggs to get Debo, and like a month ago you'd look at that and think like, wow, that's crazy. But Debo's been so hot. I mean, I see value in riding the hot hand.
Yeah.
And I think Buffalo's offense is what it will be. Diggs just isn't getting peppered like he was last year.
Yeah, and I have to do a better job too with some of these questions that we get every week, with taking out this filter of like keeper leagues and things like that, because my brain is so wired for that at this point with fantasy that I automatically just by default I go there when I see trade talk and stuff like that.
I like the Eckler idea. He's been hot this year too. He did just have a bum game, but he's been really good every other week this year. So I don't hate that. If I'm going for an Eckler though, who has had some injury concerns of his own, I'm not including Renfro if you like Renfro at all. I mean, if you're cutting him anyway, it might just save you a transaction, but
I would include Eckler and get a better piece than Eckler back because you should. If Dalvin for Eckler is not a 1-to-1 to me, I think Dalvin is in a different tier. So if you add Renfro to it, you should be doing it with the idea in mind that you get back a better player than Renfro.
yeah, like an upgrade at receiver.
Right. Then I would do it. Or if like you're really bad at tight end and they've got a really rock solid tight end, something, but preferably a better wide receiver.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And in full PPR, it's closer with Eckler and Dalvin.
Some of this stuff may require a little bit of salesmanship too. Like, so if you go make an offer for Madison, the risk you run is that you could be increasing the value for Madison unintentionally. So like you're probably going to make a move or make an offer for a guy because there's value to you, and then that person might be like, "Oh my god, like do I have value in Madison here? Am I underselling?" Like it just happens. Making offers changes the value of like the way people value players. So um, that can happen. So I guess all I'm saying too is like if somebody doesn't give you like a Madison for Renfro, it might just be more about like their insecurities or lack of knowledge for the trade, or they might be so afraid of getting fleeced that they just don't want to make that move because they don't fully understand it. Um, so I don't know. I mean, there's a little bit of nuance to it, but I guess what I'm getting at is that if you were to do the Dalvin plus Renfro to get Eckler and a piece back, you would get a better piece in return. The extra piece on top of Eckler would be better in return if you slid a little bit of doubt for Eckler's health history in there too. So like chat with the owner a little bit. Like, hey man, I get it, they both have their own thing, and they might be like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, like when's the last time Eckler's played a full season?" And just kind of like spin that out there because some people that maybe are new to fantasy or haven't owned Eckler in the past, you'd be amazed how many people can play fantasy and know nothing about certain players because they haven't rostered them, or those players didn't have a big week against them, or it's on a team that they don't watch or have interest in. It's amazing. And it's usually West Coast teams that fall under the radar because they're never on, like, they are on the later games usually. People that are casuals don't really watch those games. So like I'm just saying there's some opportunity for some salesmanship here. But you would create a little bit of doubt in Eckler, like, hey man, if you have heard about Dalvin Cook, let me remind you that Austin Eckler gets hurt, and we'll go from there. And I'm all about that. I do it. And I think most people do, whether they admit it or not. I've done it.
I'm reading this article right now about this situation. It sounds like we won't know what the hell's going to go on with this. And I mean, this is So, first of all, the girlfriend or the ex-girlfriend, apparently she filed this lawsuit earlier in the week this week. It didn't just happen. And there was some text messages that were part of this that were provided. And one of them is apparently a picture of her and her face. It looks pretty not good. But then there's also a claim here from Cook's attorney saying that she broke in to his house and maced him and two house guests, and then armed herself with a firearm and forced Cook along with his two guests at gunpoint to remain in the house. So this sounds like a lot of back and forth. You did this, you did that kind of a thing right now.
This
is going to have to get worked out in
could end
court,
up being
which means
one of those like, listen, you guys both know you were out of control and you're both trying to win, and like just get out of my courtroom. like just leave me alone. You're both messed up. Probably leave each other alone. Maybe we'll put some paperwork together for that. But like See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It
seeing
also
on CBS, Minnesota's local CBS page has on here, yeah, that she showed up unannounced. A fight broke out. He apparently pushed her slammed her into a coffee table. When she tried to mace him. It's really weird how these details are coming out on like both sides, the same details.
I know. Yeah, this feels like something that will if it's going to court, which it sure sounds like it's going to, unless Dalvin decides to like settle outside of it if that's the route they want to go. But it seems like they're going to go to court for this, and that just means that this is going to take time. This is likely going to be something that gets dealt with after the season's over. Not because they are like, well, let's wait till Dalvin Cook finishes football. It's just because that's the way this stuff goes. It takes a lot of time. Apparently, she's a sergeant in the military.
Mm.
What a wild story to break this evening.
Because why wouldn't it? Like this year's so weird. It's so weird.
It's crazy.
This happened last year, and it's like now we're like finding out about it. Oh, you know what we could do? Let me bust this out. We'll just pull this up. I'm gonna
go
pull.
ahead and look at.
I just put us on that split screen overlay that we had when we were doing.
Oh yeah, you can kind of show some stuff.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of these.
While you're looking at that, I see here that the Athletics' Jeff Howe reports that the Patriots have been in touch with free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham.
The Patriots have?
Yeah. Sounds like they reached out to him or his team, his camp, based off this report.
What is happening? Oh, I already have it set up. There we go.
Bill probably called and he was like, yeah, we were wondering if he'd want to play for $550,000 a year. Because if he'd like to do that, we'd love to have him. Also, tell him as soon as he walks into this building, he has no opinions and he keeps his mouth shut. And he does his job.
Right? All right. We're gonna just dissect some of this, I think. Or at least just review it together.
There's a lot there to unpack.
This is on ESPN. This agrees the subtleties to the story seem to be variable a little bit, but like a lot of the same elements are happening. She showed up. So per Minnesota's local CBS channel and ESPN, who are credible sources, and I think ESPN is pretty conservative with what they choose to release, are both saying like this is the story, and a lot of it aligns, that she showed up to his house. An altercation broke out, apparently involving mace and firearms. And now they're both pointing fingers at each other. It's kind of what I'm getting out of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if anyone's listening to us and not watching, I'll just run through it if you want to. Minnesota Vikings star running back Dalvin Cook allegedly abused a former girlfriend, causing a concussion during an altercation at his home last year, according to a lawsuit filed Tuesday. This is per ESPN. The Star Tribune of Minneapolis reported that the woman filed a lawsuit in Dakota County District Court accusing Cook of assault, battery, and false imprisonment. However, Cook's attorney, Dave Valentini, said his client was assaulted by the woman after she broke into his residence, saying in a statement Tuesday night that she later tried to extort him of millions of dollars. The Vikings also released a statement saying they recently received notification from Dalvin Cook's legal representative regarding a situation that occurred between Dalvin and a female acquaintance in November of 2020 and led to an ongoing dispute between the parties. Upon learning of this, we immediately notified the NFL. We are in the process of gathering more information and will withhold further comment at this time. In a separate statement, the league said it was notified by the Vikings of the matter and would decline further comment, so the league's not talking about it yet either. The woman identified herself as Gracelyn Trimble, a sergeant in the U.S. Army, in the lawsuit and to the Star Tribune. So she told, what are they saying? They're saying that she identified herself as a sergeant in the lawsuit and to the Star Tribune. So she spoke to the media.
Yeah, it seems like she did. Seems like she did on the report I had read too.
According to the lawsuit, she flew to Minnesota to break up with Cook and get her belongings from his home when things allegedly turned violent. I mean, why are you bringing mace and or a firearm to his house if you're just trying to get your stuff back, though? Oh, sorry. She accused Cook of giving her in quotes a concussion, leaving a scar on my face, and taking me through hell. According to the Star Tribune. According to the suit, she used mace on him before going into his bedroom, grabbing his gun and calling a friend for help, leading the running back to attack her with a broomstick, she alleged in the suit. When she returned to Florida after the altercation, she told medical personnel she had been in an ATV accident after seeking treatment for the injuries. Valentini, however, said in his statement Tuesday that the woman allegedly used a stolen garage door opener to enter his home illegally and then attacked him and a guest there using mace on him upon entering and forcing Cook and his guests to remain at the residence at gunpoint for hours. Cook's lawyer alleged that Trimble has been attempting to extort money from Cook ever since. No criminal charges were filed. The police were not contacted at the time of the altercation. So she took his gun. That's how the gun got involved. She might have had that mace on a keychain or something. So, like, none of this could have been planned. It could have just been, like, a really bad breakup.
Yeah,
potentially.
Could have been. The problem with all that stuff there, though, is it's one side story and the other side story, and we don't actually know what's true with all that.
It's true. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy that it's coming out now. It's pretty crazy that these are the details.
When it said that Dalvin they had already notified the NFL about this, or was it the team? When did it say that they had notified them? Was it just today, or did it not say?
They said they've recently received notification from Cook's lawyer.
Because if that would have been a situation where, like, you appear to be innocent if you were Dalvin Cook and that happened, and you, like, pretty, like, quickly right after that, you make your team aware. Your coach or the GM, maybe the NFL, like, hey, there's probably gonna be, there's gonna be something that comes after this, but here's the situation and what happened, and I'm letting you guys know, as opposed to not saying anything until the report breaks. Then that looks a little more, sketchy.
Yeah, for sure. So they're both emotional about the situation seemingly and trying to leverage each other in some ways. Like, I imagine that if she's asking him for money, some of it has to do with, like, some of her stuff that she had to leave behind, right? Because, like, she clearly didn't get her stuff out of the house. That did not happen. So if she's telling him, like, well, that's fine, you can give me the same, the amount of money that, will cover that stuff, and he's like, you're extorting me now. Like, this seems like kind of a little bit of immaturity here is involved, and I'm not saying I know who is doing it. It's one of the two, or if not both. But, like, listen, it was just a really bad night. Okay, we both need to swallow a little bit of pride here so we can move on with our lives.
Why is this so hard every time?
I'm not sitting any of those guys right now. Russ is supposed to be back. Tyler Lockett's way more interesting. I do think that there are some scenarios where you could consider. It feels weird to say, but I do think Diggs has probably shown enough of what he's been this year to where I understand if maybe you're loaded, which I know you are. Um, you consider starting some other guys over him. He seems to be very consistent, but not offering those huge games like he did last year.
No, he hasn't, but he's still been good.
He's been pretty good.
You got to play him. I don't see anyone there that you're not playing.
No, it's a good lineup. We were talking about Kamara, but I think we both expect him to play and be okay. It's just we were talking more about
Yeah.
like the possibility.
Yeah, that's something, Cloud, that you'll have to watch during the week. I don't know if you were here earlier when we mentioned that the Saints had worked out a few running backs today, and Kamara did go into the medical tent during the game this past week, and there was a rumor. I don't know how legitimate of a source it came from. There was a rumor that he might be a bit banged up. So just kind of pay attention to that, obviously. And if Mark Ingram is available in your league and you have somebody on the end of your bench that you don't really care about, it may be worth trying to get ahead of that and put a claim in on Mark Ingram. I don't think it would take much to get him if you're in Fab. If you're in a waiver system, I wouldn't waste your number one claim on it probably. Then again, I wouldn't be opposed to it either. We're getting pretty late in the year. And hopefully it's not a problem, and he's good to go and he can play. But if something did pop up where he got hurt, where he is hurt and maybe he's limited or not playing, you would have Mark Ingram as a nice backup then. Because Mark Ingram by himself with that backfield mostly to himself, be pretty interested in that.
Yeah, and that's just insurance. That's not. Yeah, that's not like.
Yeah, that's all it
There's
is.
a big issue. Till the next piece of news, man. Why every week do we have some wild story happening? You remember this feels so personal that it reminded me of Richard Sherman's thing.
Oh.
Where he's banging on his in-laws' door in the middle of the night because him and his girlfriend or wife weren't having a good moment. It was just like
everyone's already forgot about that.
I don't forget. Listen, people sometimes, and we've all heard the phrase too, so we're even desensitized to like drawing attention to it. But like these people are people too. Like they get into fights with their spouses. They lose control of their behavior sometimes. Not just the players. I'm not trying to defend them. Their significant others too. Like things just get heated sometimes, and they're human beings, and that's what happens. I've never personally been maced by a girlfriend, so I mean he must be mean a hell of a lot to her. I don't know.
I have been maced by a girlfriend's brother.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Mhm.
Okay, listen, we need this story. We need this story.
There was 4 of them and there was one of me. No, it was a stupid thing. I was asked to help. I got roped into helping them move. They bought a new house, had this huge enclosed trailer that her dad had, and I'm helping him. They get it to the new property. I'm helping the younger brother. We're clearing this thing out, and he grabs this bottle of it was a pepper spray actually. He grabs this bottle that was unmarked. It was just a round black bottle, and he's like, it almost looked like a small spray, like a paint can. He's like, huh. And I'm standing right next to him, and he sprays the interior wall of the enclosed trailer that we're inside of. He just kind of sprays it, like looking to see what kind of paint's gonna come out, and nothing does. And he kind of looks at me, and I look at him like, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what's in that. And all of a sudden, we both just start hacking. Our eyes are like watering up real bad. We sprint out of there, and her mom, the girlfriend at the time, mom is outside. She's like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" Dude, we both felt like we were dying.
Couldn't breathe.
It was not a
Were
fun
you getting
experience.
all like mucusy? Like were you getting
Fun
all
experience.
like mucusy? Like were you getting that
Yeah,
like
all
thick,
that.
just really
Yep,
like can't? Oh,
all that. I mean, we were inside a trailer, like an enclosed trailer, and he just starts holding this trigger down and spraying this shit right in front of our faces.
I mean, isn't it pepper spray? Because it's like supposed to be from like really hot peppers. Like was
I
there like
don't.
a taste to it?
I actually don't. I don't even actually know what it is that they do for that. I can just tell you that it is not an enjoyable experience.
Man, probably couldn't cough all that like phlegm and stuff up fast enough. It was just like I I mean I've like I don't know, but I'm like trying to imagine. It can't be good.
No, it's not. And that bottle looked like it was at least 15 years old. So I can't imagine if you had like some up to date stuff, like how bad it would be.
Man,
Or maybe it's like something spicy. Maybe the longer it sits, the worse it gets. I don't know.
yeah, you might have got the worst of it, dude. Like
Right.
supercharged, fermented.
Next time a cop pepper sprays me, I'm gonna take it like a champ. Like, oh, that's some weak shit.
Yeah, been here before.
You
That
need that
must be
shit from
brand new.
1995.
Yeah, did you just tear the label off that?
Oh, you got the tag still on that one, huh?
Oh, that surprised me. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah, I wish it was a cooler story. Like, yeah, I was swinging on everyone. They couldn't stop me. Had to
Right?
get the pepper spray out.
Yeah, the only way they could get me out of there. Well, I feel like that's as good a place as any to wrap it up. Just
All right.
told a good story. We touched on everybody. Um, we did get into some trade talks. I love that. I don't know, man. Waivers have just been a little bit thin, and like I think it's just the nature of this point in the year. So
Mm-hmm.
we do what we can with it. But I do think we've got some good names out there and people to keep an eye on. Cloudsy's got one
Trade
more.
deadlines are going to be coming soon, so that'll be fun. Uh, all right, yeah, we'll do this. We'll do this one here. My dad had Aaron Rodgers, so I told him to play Carson Wentz instead of Jordan Love. Now my dad doesn't hate me anymore.
Carson Wentz is
uh,
sneaky good this year, though.
for sure.
I thought Jordan Love would do better against Kansas City last week. I started him in one of my leagues, but Carson Wentz is good.
I totally understand why. I think a lot of people did that. Play Jordan Love, which it made a lot of sense on paper because of how bad the Chiefs defense has been. And you always, even though they've been terrible on offense too, like every week you still have that little bit in your brain that's like, well, but they could put up 38. And then you
Right.
think, oh, that's good for Jordan Love. That's even better. I'll be honest, I fully expected that shit show to happen. That happened.
They need they need to run the ball. And Clyde's not
Yeah,
there, which we've knocked several times, but like him not being there has hurt that team too.
it has. It really has. As much as we were trashing them, they need him.
Even if they had like Ronald Jones out there just running into people.
He would be the he would he would be a huge benefit for that team. Might be more helpful than Odell Beckham. So
Whoa.
they just really do need a run game, man.
Oh yeah. They're
If you
bringing
look at
three guys and like that's like you should be running all over that.
yeah, and now they're doing it to Buffalo. That's what Jacksonville did. And guess there's another team that is usually like unstoppable passing the ball that can't run, and it's Buffalo. Like Buffalo and Kansas City are very similar in that sense.
Josh Allen's a little scary running the ball though.
Yeah, he is, but he doesn't. It's not something like I think he goes through his entire progression on the field anymore before he even thinks about that. And at some point, through his progressions, he finds somebody to throw to. It seems like he's more willing to do that when they get closer to the red zone. But otherwise, that guy just wants the 5-step drop, or not even that. He just wants to play shotgun and just sit there real comfy, like looking for that 60 yarder.
I think Waller's good. I think the Raiders were a little bit flat last week, which was part of that trap game we were talking about, but we
On
kind of
top of
saw it
that,
coming.
you go ahead.
I was just gonna say we kind of saw it coming. I think the Raiders were primed as far as like health and just like being fresh goes, but also like definitely saw the Giants being a sneaky good defense coming. Definitely saw it being in New York as a factor. Like it's what I expected, so I'm not really changing what I think about Waller, and Gronk's been banged up.
That's all I was going to add to it was that it, Bruce Arians Bruce Arians even said that Gronk is still dealing with some stuff. So I don't think Gronk's really actually healthy right now, and that seemed pretty obvious when he tried to give it a go in that game. I wouldn't play Gronk right now.
Waller also, it wasn't this bad last year, but Waller did start out slower than we wanted him to last year. And then he ended up with like a 28-point game somewhere around week like 10 or 11. It really was like this late in the year. And that's what
Yeah.
really like pushed him up to like high tight end 2 status, cuz Kelsey was like above and beyond everybody by a margin. He was getting like 21.5 points per game. And Waller shot way up right around this time of the year. And I don't like investing in those kinds of things, but there are some guys that do it, like Robert Woods is a slow starter that seems to figure it out. Waller's done it a couple times already. He's starting to feel to me like a guy that might just do that. I think what happened this year, excuse me, I think what happened this year and why I'm not worried about it is that Waller had 13 catches week 1. And so they scaled back on purpose. They said, "Well, we don't want it to be like that. Like we want you to be
Right.
involved, but we know we can't do that." And I think they'd had that, and then they had the bye week, and now we're kind of just coming back around. So I'm not worried about Waller. Derek Carr loves Darren Waller.
Yeah. It's a tight end position, man. Though almost every single guy is inconsistent, not reliable week in and week out. Like I would be very happy if I had Darren Waller.
Yeah. And I mean, both having both options is beneficial too. Like I was just looking today, and Travis Kelsey's getting like 15 and at his points per game literally last year were like 21.7, I think. At the last time that I remember checking it. And he's down like 5 points per game this year.
Mm-hmm. I remember saying the entire offseason to Cameron. I remember him and I talking about it, and I could not believe that Travis Kelsey was a first rounder. I thought it was insane.
He has been tight end 1 for like 4 years in a row though. I
That's
get
true. He
that.
said that.
He has, but
That's true.
it's he has, but it's all about the value in drafts. Like almost everybody should be somebody you're willing to draft for the right price, and almost everybody should be somebody you're willing to let go if they're going too high. It felt like he was being drafted at what he did last year, and last year was just so. It's just there's years that are not repeatable, and that was one of them.
Yeah, like I guess to further my point, Travis Kelsey getting like I can't remember what it was. I looked it up today though. Travis Kelsey and Darren Waller are tight end 1. I believe Kelsey's still tight end 1 right now, and Waller's like tight end 10 or 11 in our half PPR league. And if you were to look, they are only 1 point per game difference on their averages. Travis Kelsey hasn't had his bye week yet. Darren Waller has been pretty consistent. He just hasn't been like crushing it like you want him to. But also, what that tells me is there are 8 other players in between these two that have similar production too. So it's like a really tight pack this year, and there's just not a lot of value to be found at the tight end position this year. Sometimes there
Mm-hmm.
is, but it's just not that way right now.
So I have a
Honestly,
solution.
like Dawson Knox was putting up massive points for a tight end who's coming back from injury right now. That dude could be huge. Like if he hadn't missed time, and he's even had a couple decent games right now. I mean, you're looking at like firm tight end 2 or what, maybe even 1 by now. Dawson Knox was like tight end 4 when he got hurt, and he's missed a couple games.
He
Few.
has his the way he was getting it done to me it felt really it was really exciting, but it felt really unsustainable at the same time because he was scoring touchdowns on such low volume, and several of these were big pass plays. Like things that Buffalo can do on a regular basis. So that's the only reason why I was looking at that going like, well, shit, I guess it might continue. I mean, it's Josh Allen at Buffalo. Like this might continue. But it almost any other team, any other situation, I would look at that and go, that's not going to continue. And I guess we still don't know. I mean, Buffalo struggled the last 2 weeks, but if Knox was there as a tight end running different routes, like would it go differently? I don't know. Is he like a missing piece for that team right now?
Could
I
be.
don't know.
He's just like one of the only guys that I look at for that whole position group and think like he's different right now.
Right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's fair.
It's just
We just
tough.
need
It's
to
just...
get rid of the tight end position and we replace it with another flex. And if you want to play the tight end, go ahead. But you don't have to.
I like that it's something to think about. But some years it offers a lot of value and some years it doesn't. It happened to me when I had Gronk too. Like Gronk can go out there and be tight end 1, but if he's, getting you a half a point per game over the next 5 guys versus like 5 points per game, that's huge.
What I do like about the position, as frustrating as it is to manage and deal with. I do like that it is just that at the same time. Like it's something you really gotta put time in every week unless you've got one of those few top guys. You've got to put time in, figure out every week like who you want to play. It feels frustrating but more exciting as opposed to the quarterback position where you're like, oh, who's available on waivers this week? Cool, yeah, I'll play him. If you go streaming or you just draft name a quarterback, you just draft him and you play him almost every week. There's just not a lot to it.
No. Agreed. You look at the
unless you
team
got Patrick
defense.
Mahomes, then you got to figure out who you're picking up on waivers so you can bench him.
Oh, he's down to quarterback 6 right now, though. I did see that. In sleeper, at least, because I have him in that league.
Yeah, QB6, and he's been terrible for, I don't know, several games. He's been really bad, and he's still QB6. Started the year off solid. Better figure that out.
Listen, my
I'll cut him.
Tyreek Hill is suffering a little bit, too. Not really
Yeah.
a fan.
Yeah, everybody's suffering over here. Cody's over there like, I just lost Derrick Henry. I need some Travis Kelce in my life.
You know what he didn't lose? His fantasy game this week.
No, he didn't.
I'm over it.
No, because he made a super smart waiver claim pickup.
All right, I have to leave on that.
Yeah, it's fair enough. We can close it. We can shut her down.
You good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
I got a little long-winded and brought up a couple things. But I do that. That's just kind of how I roll sometimes. And I haven't even been drinking. But
maybe I think we need to make that happen one day soon.
Drinking stream?
Yeah.
I'm down. Listen.
Get a little wild.
We got an intro. There's nothing we can't do.
That's true. We do have an intro now.
All right. We're going to wrap it up. We covered quite a bit. I'm happy that we got that other overlay involved and showed some articles. I think if we keep getting weird news like this, that might have to just be a thing. I felt like we were able to use that again for the first time in a while. We were using that for like mock drafts and stuff. I think it looks clean. So, I don't know. Pretty happy that we got to yank that one out of the archives. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Dallas, we appreciate you. Cloudsy, Michael, anybody else that stopped by, we definitely appreciate you guys. It's got that vibe that we're like starting a community. I like seeing all these names that I recognize. So, yeah, thanks for stopping by. Anybody that might be new that's still hanging out, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Support the channel. Get yourself some notifications when we go live. We stream Tuesday nights. We stream Sunday mornings before the games start. So